It is estimated he was in over 350 TV show episodes and almost 50 films. With his imposing 6'4" body and huge expressive face, he carved out a 4-decade-long acting career, usually typecast as the villain, scary yet often humorous. He was one of those incredible actors who could elevate even the cheesiest movies into something worth watching. As a trained actor, he took his profession very seriously and became frustrated at being typecast. In the early 1990s, he left acting, yet kept busy in local theater and as a certified hypnotherapist. In 2003, his career was resurrected, bringing him more fame than he could ever imagined as he became an icon in the horror community. Today I present a 15-minute totally incomplete biography of Sid Haig. He was born Sidney Eddie Mosesian on July 14, 1939 in Fresno, California. He was the only child of Araxie, Roxie, Bertha and Haig Mosesian. Raised in an Armenian community, he grew up so fast by the time he was 9 years old, he was as tall as his 5'7" father, and by the time he was in high school, he was 6'4". I started when I was about 6 years old as a dancer. Because I was real clumsy, my mother decided it was time I learned how to walk and talk at the same time and signed me up for some dancing classes. And basically the first time I stepped on the stage, I decided that was it. It was a good feeling. At age 6, I went on a vaudeville show. I wore a top hat and tails. I worked with puppies, singing and dancing How Dry I Am. Haig attended Roosevelt High School, graduating in 1957. He was vice president of the Student Body Council during his senior year. He was also a member of the Excalibur Boys Club and the Letterman's Club at school. He was active in track and band. But it was in the theater where he discovered his true calling. He took up drumming after his parents bought him a drum kit, them being tired of him banging on pots and pans. After graduating school in '57, he attended Fresno City College in Fresno State. As a drummer, he began playing with a country and western group with some buddies, but that changed when he was introduced to rock and roll after hearing the song Rock Around the Clock in the film The Blackboard Jungle. The band would be called the T-Birds and released 6 singles, one of them, Full House, making the charts at number 4, but soon Sid had had enough. Because at that point, the music industry was full of crooks, robbers, thieves, and nefarious people of ill repute. I basically didn't make any money. I was busting my ass and really wasn't seeing anything, so I got out. He enrolled at Pasadena Playhouse, and it was there he went from Sidney Eddie Mosesian to Sid Haig. I did it when I was still acting at the Pasadena Playhouse because people were having problems with pronunciation. I was getting 2 S's on either side of the E and onwards. I thought, that's it, so I made my father's name my last name. Even in high school and college productions, they try to get you in the role closest to what you looked like, and I've always been the one who did ill deeds, he says. Later at Pasadena, this coach, Barney Brown, convinced me I could play heavies, either Damon Runyon type characters or hardened criminals. He was smart, he knew the casting system. Why the typecasting? Is it the face? I don't know and I'm not about to ask at this late date, he says engagingly enough. I guess it's the whole features. My kids like me, but I definitely don't look like the guy next door. Even at the Pasadena Playhouse 10 years ago, I was doing hired killers, psychos, sex perverts. At first I thought I could play them so well, some of them really must be within me. While at the Playhouse, he appeared in a short film, The Host, with a student director at UCLA named Jack Hill. Jack would play a big part in Sid's acting career. He got the part through Dorothy Asner, who had been a director during the 20s through the 40s and now was a teacher at UCLA. She called one of my instructors at the Playhouse and said they were looking for someone and gave a description of the character. And Julia Farnsworth, who was a longtime friend of hers and a ballet instructor at the Playhouse, suggested me. She gave me a call and told me to call Dorothy. I went out there and met with Jack and read for him, and I guess he liked what I did, and we did it. He graduated from the Pasadena Playhouse in 1961 with a degree in theater arts. And that started the long, hard process of trying to find work. Making a living was even more important because Sid married Patricia Ann Gates and the two would end up having 2 children. I started banging on doors, he said, which finally landed him a big part in the television series The Untouchables. Acting jobs were hard to come by though, and Haig found himself taking any odd job that came along. His non-acting credits include construction, pool maintenance, bartending, working in an art gallery, to name a few. After he married, Haig decided to get into anything he could related to films. So he worked as a crew member and tried to hide on the job because he didn't want to be known in the industry as a crewman. In 1966, things began to pick up. He appeared in the TV shows Batman, Star Trek, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. But in 1967, he got his first starring role in a film. It was with Jack Hill, and the film was called Spider Baby, or The Maddest Story Ever Told. My character in the film had just had a lobotomy. Shaving my head was something I felt had to be done for the role, and I was happy with the look, but my wife wasn't. We had only been married for 4 months. That was the first time I made her shave the back of my head. She wasn't too pleased. Through the 1960s and into the 70s, Sid continued to act consistently, starring in B-films like Pit Stop in 1969, appearing in smaller parts in major studio films such as Hell with Heroes in 68 and Diamonds Are Forever in 71. And there were many television shows, including The Flying Nun, Gunsmoke, Mannix, and 9 episodes of Mission Impossible. It was in 1971 that he entered a new phase in his acting career. I was about to go to Europe to make some spaghetti westerns. Then Jack Hill called me to go to the Philippines and wound up making a dozen pictures over there. His first film in the Philippines was called The Big Dollhouse, acting along with a young female actor who was just starring in her first film. Her name was Pam Grier, and the two would have an instant bond. We met in the lobby of this apartment hotel we were staying in when we were doing The Big Dollhouse. We were in the lobby and this incredibly gorgeous woman was standing there. And I thought, oh my god, she was one of those alarmingly beautiful women, particularly back then. She hasn't slipped by any means, but when she was doing her early work with Jack, it was impossible to stop looking at her. She was just very compelling, and we got along great, instantly. There was some sort of kinship there. Those were great times. And to set the record straight, both Sid and Pam denied that there was ever anything romantic between the two of them. The pair would next be in The Big Birdcage, again written and directed by Jack Hill, and then the Eddie Romero film Black Mama, White Mama. Sid would also make Beyond Atlantis, Savage Sisters, and Wonder Woman in the Philippines. Coming back to the US, he returned to Jack and Pam with Coffee and Foxy Brown. From 1974 until 1990, Sid did mostly TV work. He appeared in almost every television show you can think of, including 55 episodes of the comedy late-night soap opera Mary Hartman from 1976 to 77.
Hell no. I mean, that would be stupid.
And we're not stupid, are we?
And then from 1978 to 1981, he starred in the TV series Jason of Star Command, where he played the evil Dragos.
Destroy the shields. I want the Academy captured in one piece.
Yes, Master.
Of course, there was also the occasional B-film. I got a lot of work because they knew I was going to show up on time. I was going to do my homework and that I wasn't going to make problems on the set, he said. In the early 1980s, he began working with local area kids in soccer as the commissioner of the local American Youth Soccer Organization. And in 1987, he attempted to bring soccer to his hometown of Fresno. Television actor Sid Haig, a former Fresnan, provided financial backing for the game with an interest in getting a Fresno MISL franchise. After the poor exhibition turnout and an estimated $10,000 loss, plans for a Fresno franchise were put on ice. He continued to act, but by the early 1990s, Sid had had enough of the parts he was being asked to play. My decision at the time to retire I didn't feel was temporary. I had had it with playing the same dumb heavies time after time, so I just said to myself, if these guys can't get that I have more to offer than just to point a gun at somebody, then I'm out of here. Sid, however, didn't stop working or acting. He began working with the Theater Guild of Simi Valley, which eventually became the Stage and Video Education Theater known as SAVE, where he produced, directed, and sometimes acted in small theater productions. The program is available to high school students living in Simi Valley, from 8th grade graduates to senior high school graduates, including schools without regular theater programs such as Apollo High. Leading the workshop is Sid Haig, who will also direct Making It. Haig graduated from Pasadena Playhouse College of Theater Arts and has acted professionally on TV and films for 28 years. His credits include Mary Hartman, and Jason of Star Command. Yeah, that's been a real struggle to keep afloat. Even if the kids take it seriously, a lot of times the parents won't, so they basically feel no qualms about pulling their kids out to see Aunt Tilly or whatever, so you're constantly working around schedules of people's stuff that gets in the way of work. But there are some kids I've run into who have made it worthwhile, have had the dedication and talent. There are some kids who have given up some pretty spectacular things just to be able to come in and work in the show, and that makes it worth doing. And this wasn't something he did for the short term, but was involved with the group for over 13 years. He also became a hypnotherapist. I had one of the worst years of my life last year, he said. I had a terrible bout with the flu, complicated by smoking, which I eventually gave up, and then my mother died. It all happened so quickly. He said hypnotherapy helped him through it. I used to play horrible, despicable characters, he said. Now I'm helping people feel good, and who doesn't want to feel good? In 1997, however, Sid did appear in front of the cameras. It was an offer he couldn't refuse. It was just one day's work to act with his old friend, somebody he hadn't seen for years, Pam Grier. He played the judge in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. It was a total surprise to Grier, who said she couldn't stop laughing when he saw him behind the bench. And when I did Jackie Brown, Quentin didn't tell Pam I was going to play the judge. So when I showed up on the set, she was totally shocked. We hadn't seen each other for 27 years, and it was as if we had just had lunch together the day before. Our relationship picked up right where it was back then. That one-day job really wasn't his comeback. That happened in 2003. A heavy metal rock star decided to write and direct a horror film. His name was Rob Zombie, and he cast Sid in the film House of a Thousand Corpses, playing Captain Spaulding, the vulgar and murderous clown. Zombie wrote on his Facebook page after Sid's death, "Sid told me many times how thankful he was for the captain and how the character changed his life. He had completely given up on acting and now suddenly found a whole new audience at the age of 60. I know he was thrilled and blown away by that fact." He would play the captain in 2 more films, The Devil's Rejects in 2005 and 3 from Hell in 2019. I can tell you the only roles I've played in that have not been stereotypical have been in Jack Hill films, Quentin Tarantino films, and Rob Zombie films. Not only did he begin acting in film after film, he started to appear at horror conventions. Lots of horror conventions. Something he really enjoyed. He loved talking to his fans, never refusing or charging for photos and autographs. And part of his payment for appearing at these shows went to charity. Horror fans are the best. They have so much passion for the genre, it's amazing. Horror is the only genre I know of that has a convention somewhere every single weekend of the year. Going to the shows and meeting the fans is the least we can do because without them, we are nothing. In 2007, Sid married Susan Oberg, and the two would remain married until Sid's death. For his remaining years, Sid kept on acting. I am deadly serious about my craft. I become upset with people who don't know their craft. Nobody would trust a first-year medical student to take out their appendix. Sadly, on November 21st, 2019, Sidney Eddie Mosesian, better known as Sid Haig, passed away to respiratory complications. He was 80 years old. Loved by fans world over for his prolific acting career spanning almost 6 decades, Sid was also an accomplished musician, an expert fencer, a highly skilled potter, a soccer coach, a youth theater director, and a hypnotherapist. Sid loved traveling and enjoyed interacting with friends and fans at conventions around the globe. His passion for living to the fullest was inspiring, and he always encouraged people to chase their dreams and never give up. Sid's wife Susan said in the San Francisco Bee, "He was my angel, my husband, my best friend, and always will be. He adored his family, his friends, and his fans. This came to a shock to all of us." In 2012, Sid said, "After 50 years of doing this, what you realize is, what you ultimately want at the end is a little respect. You try to do something that people are going to honor. Anytime you can be remembered, it's a good thing." And if that was Sid's goal, I think he succeeded. This is a picture of Sid with his 2 children a short time before his passing, when he received the 3rd Annual Price Award, an award created to honor the iconic legacy of Vincent Price by celebrating an equally iconic genre icon. It was something Sid described as the highlight of his career.